Alright guys, what is up? In this tutorial or series, which I began a while ago, I was going to go over the basics and the fundamentals of web development. And in this video, I'm going to be primarily focusing on JavaScript. And I aim to dispel a lot of myths regarding JavaScript that most beginners will find themselves caught up in. And, I hope to put you on a path that will allow you to start off developing with greater ease. Before we begin, I suggest you head over to this website here, the Mozilla Developer Network. It gives it's probably the best place on the internet to get any sort of information regarding JavaScript. If you might have heard of W3 schools, but I suggest stay away from that because it's not always the most up to date with the ECMAScript standard. But this is MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network, and we're going to start off just by looking at what they define JavaScript as. Now, they say it's a lightweight, interpreted, object-oriented language with first-class functions, and more importantly, it's a scripting language, and it is used in web pages and in the web browser, but it's also used in many non-browser environments. We're going to be looking at those as well. So, right off the bat, we know that most web developers use JavaScript as a tool they can use to manipulate HTML pages and add interaction to their websites. However, JavaScript is it's a programming language that has many other purposes, many of which were recently brought to light by things such as Node.js. So if I look up, let me just open up Node.js for you. This is the Node.js command prompt, and if I type in something like node, I'm now at this. I'm in the actual REPL, the loop in which I can enter actual JavaScript code, such as var char equals 5, and then if I type in char, I should get the value 5 back. So this allows me to basically hack some JavaScript code and see results. And once again, this is all happening in the command line and has nothing to do with the browser. So that brings me to my next, one of the next biggest myths about JavaScript. Many people think that JavaScript it's a language that's extremely slow, and yes, it is substantially slower than, let's say, your compiled languages, but at the same time, it serves its purpose. And with new technologies such as the Chrome V8, which you can look up here on the Google developers page, because it is a Google technology, and it's an open source high performance JavaScript engine written in C++. Now this is extremely fast, and there's a video right here that shows how it breaks the speed limit, and that's really interesting. And they use just-in-time compilation and other techniques to actually achieve this great speed, and it's very useful for web applications and has really transformed the view people have had about JavaScript. Moreover, this engine, the Chrome V8, is the JavaScript engine that is used in the Google Chrome web browser, which I'm using right now, and Node.js also uses this engine for their platform. So overall, it's open source. So who knows? Maybe you might even want to use this engine for one of your projects. Now, many people, obviously, we know JavaScript can do interactive things. So many people confuse it with other sorts of things that provide interaction. One of the biggest misconceptions there exists is with this thing called Jquery here. Now, Jquery is a JavaScript library. It's used in the browser, and the main goal of it is to allow easy traversal of HTML documents and to provide an abstraction layer to the DOM API. You might be wondering, what does this mean? Basically, Jquery is nothing more than a set of functions that makes it easier to work with DOM functions, document object model functions. So, if I pull up, let's say, DOM API, and I have I have a reference from the MDN, and it tells me exactly what functions and what interfaces and what objects there are that allow me to manipulate my HTML. There's a lot of them. Now, this is a pretty big list, and many times we want something to be done with ease, so we use Jquery, which has a much more simpler API, and it's got a much simpler API that's much more intuitive and easier to understand to a certain extent. Now, it's got a lightweight footprint, it's cross browser, it's CSS3 compliant, but I just want to put it out there that jQuery is not JavaScript. If anything, it's just an extension to JavaScript. It allows for an easy API, so you can code like this, and that's, I mean, it's cool and all. But yeah, so that's one of the biggest myths. So just know jQuery, JavaScript, separate things. JavaScript can exist without jQuery, but jQuery cannot exist without JavaScript. Okay, moving on to Jsfiddle. Now, I mentioned Jsfiddle in my previous video, I think. But what it is it's a pretty cool tool that allows me to enter HTML code here, enter CSS here, enter JavaScript here, and see a real-time result here. Now, this is a really how do I put it? It's very useful, and you can also sign up for an account and save your code and your code snippets, and you can share it with people too with a link. But and on top of that, there are many frameworks that they have, many JavaScript libraries you can embed, like Jquery. We'll be using this a bit, and there's just a bunch of options you can use. So it's really useful to use this tool. And this is primarily what we're going to be working out of until I move into the Node.js realm a bit. But yeah, so yeah. So yeah, what I'd like to now move into is just some simple JavaScript. And before we do any of that, it's good to inspect elements, pull up your browser console, which here's another cool thing most people don't realize. The Chrome browser console, the developer console, actually allows you to type in JavaScript, and it also does it gives you a similar REPL similar to Node.js. So if I type something like alert, or I messed that up, alert, and let's say I want a string, hey there, and right there you've seen it makes my browser display hey there. So right off the bat, we know alert is a function that allows us to tell our browser to create an alert message. So yeah, that's just a simple example. You can use this tool, but we're mainly going to be using it to we're mainly going to be running JavaScript out of here. So right off the bat, we're going to just do some simple, I'll just give you a couple simple JavaScript statements. There car equals 5. Now, JavaScript statements end up with each statement ending in a semicolon. Now, there are a couple exceptions, but each statement is going to always end in a semicolon. It's the safest bet you can do. So this statement obviously set my variable car equal to 5. Now, var is an identifier. It tells the interpreter that what we're going to be typing in next is going to be an actual variable, an object called car, that's going to have an integer value of 5. Now, I can run this code, and nothing will happen. And it looks like nothing's happening, but that's because we haven't made any API calls to the actual browser. So we're going to do a console.log. Now, you might be confused by what this whole dot notation is here, and it's actually just a way to access an object's methods or its functions, its member functions. But we're going to console.log car, and that's going to log the value of car to the actual console. So we're going to see if all goes well here, we're actually going to see the value of car. So if I run this, I get the value 5. Now, I can set car, in this case I've set it equal to an integer. I could set it equal to a string. So let's make a Lambo. Run that. Now we see Lambo. Okay, so right off the bat, you know how to create, well, so far you at least know how to create a variable, how to set it equal to an integer or a string, and how to log that to the actual console. In future videos, I'm going to be going over more complex things such as creating objects, because JavaScript has a pretty rich object system, and it's nowhere near the extent of, let's say, C++, but it's still very useful and very loose and flexible. And we'll be getting into Jquery and other sorts of libraries, but for now, I just wanted to whet your appetite a bit, and later we'll move into some of the more actual fundamentals of JavaScript and how to actually program using this language. So once again, I thank you for watching this video. I hope I cleared a lot of misconceptions, and for many of the new developers out there, I hope I put you on, let's say, the right foot, so you don't go there and say something stupid like jQuery equals JavaScript. But other than that, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you and cleared a lot of misconceptions. And if you liked it, don't forget to give a like, subscribe, give a rating, and share it. It all helps. And yep, so keep developing. Thank you.